Here at Labelbox, we constantly strive to ensure that our platform is secure by design. Granting access to operations and data to only those that need it is an important aspect of security, and we achieve this by assigning user roles and permissions in the web app. You can read more about it over here. Another way to interact with Labelbox is by using the SDK. The SDK requires an API key to access the platform. You can read more about generating the API key over here. Admins have always had the ability to generate API keys that grant full access to a workspace using the Labelbox SDK. Since these keys allow you to perform all operations with the SDK, it requires the users to exercise caution when storing and using these keys. We have recently introduced a new feature that gives admins finer control over what actions can be performed when programmatically accessing the Labelbox platform using the API keys. Here's how we are able to achieve this under the hood. The previous implementation worked like this. When a request is made using the SDK with the API key, we first authenticate the key, and if it is valid, we pass on the request to our downstream services to handle. We've enhanced this flow. In the new implementation, apart from authenticating the API key, we now also retrieve a list of permissions that are associated with the key. This list of permissions depend on the role that was used while generating the key. Now all the service has to do is to check if a particular permission has been granted to the request before performing the action. If not, it is denied. Let me demonstrate it for you. When creating an API key, admins now have the ability to associate a role with the key. We currently have two roles, the admin role that gives you full access to the workspace, and the data admin role that gives you limited access. The complete list of permissions can be found on the Roles and Permissions page I had referenced earlier. Note that we have relaxed some restrictions for the data admin role for backward compatibility, but this will be changed going forward. We will also be adding more roles and may support custom roles in the future. Let me now create a data admin key. Let's just call it I'm going to copy this key and I'm going to start using it in my notebook here. I'm going to create an instance of the Labelbox client using the data admin key. Now, using this client, I'm going to try and create a project. Note that the operation has failed with an insufficient permissions to perform this action error. Let us see how we can fix that. I'm going to go back and try to create a new API key, this time with the admin permissions. I'm going to copy this key and head back to my notebook. When I try to create the project this time, notice that the project has been created. The same applies when trying to delete a project. Let me switch this back to my data admin key, recreate the client, and try to retrieve the project. I'm able to retrieve the project, but when I try to delete it, it fails with the insufficient permissions error. However, if I switch my client back to using the admin key, I can retrieve the project and also delete it. There, the project has been deleted. Let's just confirm that. We can see that the project has been deleted this time. Using this feature, admins now have better control over what operations can be permitted using the distributed API key.